Hello everyone and welcome to day 9 of Advent of Cyber 2022. Today's room is called Dock the Halls and it's about pivoting, so let's get started. Because of the recent incident, Center has asked his team to set up a new web application that runs on Docker. It's supposed to be much more secure than the previous one, but better safe than sorry, right? It's up to you, McSkitty, to show Santa that there may be hidden weaknesses before the bad guys find them. Note before you start, this task is a bit more complex than what you have seen so far in the event. We've ensured that the task content has all the information you need. Alright. Learning objectives. Using Metasploit modules and Interpreter to compromise systems, network pivoting, and post-exploitation. Concepts. What is Docker? Docker is a way to package applications and the associated dependencies into a single unit called an image. This image can then be shared and run as a container, either locally as a developer or remotely on a production server. Center's web application and database are running in Docker containers, but only the web application is directly available via an exposed port. A common way to tell if a compromised application is running in a Docker container is to verify the existence of a -docker n file at the root directory of the file system. What is Metasploit? Is a powerful penetration testing tool for gaining initial access to systems, performing post-exploitation, and pivoting to other applications and systems. What is a Metasploit session? That is a interpret. After successfully exploiting a remote targeting with Metasploit session, with a Metasploit module, the session is often opened by default. These sessions are often command shells or interpret sessions, which allow for executing commands against the target. It's also possible to open up other session types in Metasploit, such as SSH or WinRM, which do not require payloads. The common Metasploit console commands for viewing and manipulating sessions in Metasploit are sessions-UI, upgrade the last open session to interpreter, interact with a session, sessions-I session ID, background the current interactive session, and go back to the Metasploit Pro. What is Interpreter? Is an advanced payload that provides interactive access to a compromised system. Interpreter supports running commands on a remote target, including uploading/downloading files and pivoting. Interpreter has multiple useful commands, such as the following. System info, get information about the remote system, such as OS, upload a file or directory using upload, local, and then the name of the file. Display interfaces, ipconfig, resolve a set of host names on the target to IP addresses, useful for pivoting, so resolve remote services, remote service 2. Note that normal command shells do not support complex operations such as pivoting. In Metasploit's console, you can upgrade the last open Metasploit session to an interpreter session with sessions-u and then the number 1. You can identify the open session with the sessions command. If you are currently interacting with interpreter session, you must first background it. In the below example, the two session types are shell command Unix and interpreter x86/Unix. So here we have the command sessions, and then we have two sessions opened on this. What is pivoting? Once an attacker gains initial entry into a system, the compromised machine can be used to send additional web traffic through, allowing previously inaccessible machines to be reached. For example, an initial foothold could be gained through a web application running in a Docker container or through an exposed port on a Windows machine. This system will become the attack launchpad for other systems in the network. So pentester, compromised container. We can route network traffic through this compromised machine. to run network scanning tools such as Nmap or ARP to find additional machines and services which are previously inaccessible to the pen tester. This concept is called network pivoting. So the pen tester compromises the container and then uses Nmap or other network mapping tools to find another machines and other containers inside the network. Using Metasploit, if you are using the web-based Kali Linux on your Kali machine, you can open Metasploit with the following. It is better if we follow along. All right, so we have our Metasploit open. Let's start to search the module that they display right here, which is Laravel. All right, we have two modules. They want us to use the multi PHP ignition, which is number 1. Excellent. Yes, authenticated remote code execution in ignition 2020 2021. It's the date. All right, so let's use it. So use multi PHP ignition Laravel debug RCE. All right, we're in. So now we can have extra info about the exploit. Oh, sorry. So let me check it from the beginning. So an authenticated remote code execution, platform Unix, Linux, OS X, Windows, provided by this person. Module side effects, crash save available. So we need to set up our host, the port, and that's about it. Those are the requirements. Description: ignition before 2.5.2 has used in Laravel and other products, allows unauthenticated remote attackers to execute arbitrary code because of insecure usage of file get content and file put content functions. This is exploitable on sites using debug mode with Laravel before 8.4.2. So we are assuming that the website is using such versions. We already saw the options, so let's just set our host to our attack machine, to our target 10.10.56.114. It is set verbose to true. Let's also set host listen IP, which is our IP .0.126. Verify it on the top. You can verify your IP on the top of the of your TryHackMe web page if you are connected to it. So where were we? Right here. Yes. Show options again. Run or check the module. So show options just to be sure we have set everything. So this is our IP address. Yes, the port, we are going to leave it as it is since they do not provide any more information. If we should. So let's check it. Checked. Compose debug mode is enabled, and it found the Laravel 8.26.1 version. And yes, the target appears to be vulnerable. So let's run the exploit. Let's see if we are successful. We have a command shell session 1 opened, so it is successful. You can also directly set options from the run command. Yes, we are in the machine. So we have favicon.icon, index.php, robots.txt. Using Meterpreter to pivot, Metasploit as an internal routing table that can be modified with the route command. This routing table determines where to send network traffic through. For instance, through a Meterpreter session. This way we are using Meterpreter to pivot, sending traffic through to other machines on the network. Note that Meterpreter has a separate root command, which is not the same as the top level. So let's use the background command. Background session 1, yes. SOX proxy is an intermediate server that supports relaying network traffic between two machines. This tool allows you to implement the technique of pivoting. You can run a SOX proxy either locally on a pen tester's machine via Metasploit or directly on the compromised server. In Metasploit, this can be achieved with the auxiliary /server SOX proxy. Tools such as curl support sending requests through SOX proxy server via the proxy flag. The tool does not natively support an option for using SOX proxy. Proxy chains can intercept the tool's request to open new network connection and route the request through the SOX proxy instead. For instance, an example with nmap, proxy chains, nmap. All right, so after deploying the attached VM, run nmap against the target. So sudo nmap t4-apn 10.10.6.114. After loading the web application in your browser at HTTP and the port, use Firefox on the Kali and inspecting the network tab, we can see that the server responds to an HTTP set cookie header, indicating that the server is running Laravel, a common web application development framework. So, all right, so it is explaining us how did we get to. Oh, so this is just nonsense, but we can see the version right here, Laravel. Yeah. So this is explaining us how did we get to the payload on the first place. So we first visited the website and we found that it is running the Laravel version 8.26.1, which has that vulnerability. Now let's check out our nmap attack. So we found 2 IP addresses, trace route found 2 hops. What else? Port state service version, port 80 is open. So it is asking us to use the exact same vulnerability that we have already used. The open shell will be a basic Linux reverse bash shell. We can see this by running the background command and viewing the current active sessions. So the active sessions will tell us which one is it, and I can even show you that it is the same session that we have opened. So if I use sessions, there you go, it's the exact same session that we have opened before. If you're currently in a session, you can run background command to back to the top level of Metasploit prompt. To upgrade the most recently open session to Meterpreter, use sessions-i command. Metasploit will now show 2 sessions open, one for the original shell session and another for the new Meterpreter session. So let's do this. So what we want to run is the command sessions-u-1, upgrading session ID 1, starting exploit multi-handler. So let's see if this is exactly the same output. Let me check sessions again. Yeah, so now we have 2 open sessions, one for the Meterpreter and one for the shell. After interacting with the Meterpreter session with the sessions ID and exploring the application, we can see there are database credentials available. If we choose to enter the session ID 1, we are now inside and we can see some files. We are inside var-www-html, and we can see favicon.icon, index.php, robots file, web.config. So we are on this directory and we want to go one directory behind. We are now on this one, so let's see what's inside this one. So we have the .m file, a database file, all of these files, and I have to explain this. The .env is very important because it is a file that developers use to usually store API keys, passwords. It is something that is not supposed to be uploaded into version control software, for example, GitHub. When you find a .env file, you usually want to check it out. And we have publisher key, pusher app key, which is empty, but we have some that are not empty. Mix pusher app closure app key. We have the Redis host. Password is null. So it contains a lot of information. Yes, it has some database information as well. The username is Postgres and the password is Postgres as well. We can use Interpreter to resolve this remote host name to an IP address that we can use for attacking purposes. So let's use Interpreter again to use resolve web service database. As this is an internal IP address, it won't be possible to send traffic to it directly. We can instead leverage the network pivoting support within MSF console to reach the inaccessible host. To configure the global routing table in MS console, ensure that you have run the background command from within a Interpreter session. So let's go back again. And now we are going to use the route command that they were explaining above. So root add 172.1.28.101.51 dash 32 subnet mask in session 1, and now we have added the root. All right. We can also see, due to the presence of docker.env file, that we are in a Docker container. By default, Docker chooses a hard-coded IP to represent the host machine. We will also add that to our routing table for later scanning. So root add 172.0.1/32 session 1. We can print the routing table to verify the configuration settings. So root print. Let's check out. Yes, so we have added the two routes with the previously discovered database credentials and the routing table configured. We can start to run Metasploit modules that target Postgres. Starting with schema dump, followed by running queries to select information out of the database. So let's now attack the database itself. Let's use auxiliary scanner Postgres, and let's use the schema dump. Run Postgres, and now we have to provide the Postgres address. Postgres at 172.28.101.51-Postgres. So it has found the database, scan one host 100% complete, auxiliary module execution completed. So we have found database Postgres tables, table name, user ID, sec, columns, column name, last value. So we have the database schema basically. Table name, we have a table of users, a table of users ID, several columns, ID, username, password, and another table called users public key or private key, probably private key. Let's now use this one to select information from a specific table. So use auxiliary admin Postgres SQL, and we now will specify post 8.101.51 Postgres SQL equal to and now let's provide the SQL command. So select everything from users. Whoops, invalid error. The following options failed to validate our host. Oh, I see it. I see it. My bad. Yes, it should be okay right now. Okay, yes. So we have found Santa's password. So we have selected everything from the table users, and we have found the username Santa and his password. To further pivot through the private network, we can create a SOCKS proxy within Metasploit. Let's do this as well. Use another module, use auxiliary, server, SOCKS proxy, and now we want to run using the server host equal to 127 the localhost dot 0.0.1, and the server port will be equal to 9050, version 4 equal to 4a. Starting the SOCKS proxy server. This will expose a port on the attacker machine that can be used to run other network tools, such as curl or proxy chains. Alright, from the attacker's host machine, we can use curl with the internal Docker IP to show that the web application is running and the SOCKS proxy works. So let's test this out as well. Probably, so we are using curl, so I am going to need another terminal, so let's use curl dash dash proxy stocks for a dash dash local host on port 9050 http, and now let's provide the attacker's IP address 17, the target's IP address 17.0.1, and activate the verbose mode. All right, so we had a response. From the attacker's host machine, we can use proxy chains to scan the compromised host machine for common ports. So we are going to now search more deeply in the network for other containers or machines. So let's use proxy chains. Proxy chains dash q and map dash n dash s capital T dash pn dash p 22. Let's provide 24 22 80 443. So we are doing SSH HTML, no sorry, TC yes, HTTP and HTTPS now. 5432, this one I'm not familiar with, 172.17.0.1, but it is Postgres SQL. Yes, so we have two ports opened. We have the SSH and the TCP, the HTTP. With those scanned, we can see that port 22 is open on the host machine. It is also possible that Santa has reused his password, and it's possible to SSH into the host machine from the Docker container to grab the flag. All right, so let's go again into the Meterpret to the Metasploit terminal. Let's use another module, auxiliary scanner SSH and SSH login. We are now going to run SSH dash dash center username. Oh, center username here, so the username is actually center. And the password, we have stored it before. Here's P4. Oh, sorry, I'm writing here. So P4 $$ 0 RE. And the IP address 172.17.0.1. Starting brute force. Successful. So yes, Santa has actually reused his password, and we have opened an SSH session. So so if we check, not this terminal, this one, if we check sessions, we have now a shell SSH Unix command, Unix session. So sessions I want to go with 3. I have a root.txt, cat root.txt, and we have found the flag. All right, so into the container. So let's start the flags right now. We have a lot of information in this machine. I know why they now have that note explaining that this room is a bit different from the others that we have done, because this is a complete tutorial on how to pivoting and how to first interact with a network container, and using tools like exploitation tools like Metasploit. So I will try to resume everything now on the flags, but since it was a bit confusing from the beginning. So let's start with the first flag. Deploy the attached VM and wait a few minutes. What ports are open? Well, I would say we only got port 80. Yes. So I remember the nmap scan, and we only got port 80 open. So what framework is the web application developed in? We have actually found that when we checked the website and the cookie that was being used on the request, and it is Laravel. Yes. So what is the CVE? What CVE is the application vulnerable to? Okay, so right here, PHP Laravel, cross-site scripting, no, remote code execution, debug mode, yeah, it's this one. 4.8.4.2. This is 8.26, but I do believe it's this one. And the CVE is 2021-3129. I could actually also find this information. Let me check if this is correct. So it is not correct. Let's check the int. Use the info command. So it's probably because I'm not using the CVE. Yeah, so yeah. So it was basically the format. Yeah, but just as they were telling us right here, you could use the info command on the Metasploit module that we have previously used. But it is also useful to know this exploit database. This is where you can, when you find a version of a software of any kind, you can search here for vulnerabilities for that specific version. So it is useful to use. What command can be used to upgrade the last open session to a Meterpreter session? It was the -u, I believe. It was sessions -u-1. Yes, all right. This was from memory, but yes, this was the command. What file indicates a session has been opened within a Docker container? And this is the docker.env file. Actually, the slash docker.env file. Yes. What file often contains useful credentials for web applications? And as I explained before, this is the .env file. What database table contains useful credentials? This was the users table. What is Santa's password? We have found this when we dropped the information on the table. And it is this beautiful password over here. What ports are open on the host machine? Now, we have found this when we use the proxy chains command. And I port 22 and port 80. What is the root flag? And we found out this when we were able to use an SSH connection into the machine. We got root access, and we then found the flag. All right, submit. Day 9 is done. You might want to take a well-deserved rest now. If this challenge was right up your alley, though we think you might enjoy the compromising Active Directory module. So well done, guys. This was a more complex module with a lot more information on it, but it was really fun. We learned a bit more about the environment where Docker containers work. We learned about a very important tool called Metasploit, which can be used to apply a lot of modules and brute force attacks and other pivoting tools, which is it's a very important tool to have in your arsenal. We have learned how to search through a web application and find its version and its possible vulnerabilities, and we have completely earned the Docker container that we were attacking by finding out the database that we was running, dropping that same database, finding credentials on it, and then using the SSH open port to connect and gain root access to it. So I hope you guys have enjoyed. I hope you guys have learned something. Please feel free to subscribe and like this video, and have a merry Christmas, guys. Thank you very much.